Today we will discuss about the basics of database. Okay, so here if you see in this, we have certain terminologies like theoretical understanding, and then we will proceed further to do some, to write some queries to see how queries works and all. So if you see what exactly the database is, database is an organized collection of structured information or data typically stored electronically in computer system. So here we will be storing our data in computer, and that is database is nothing but is a organized collection. Okay, so here we will be collecting the data on large scale, and that will be of structured information. So this is what database. You can also consider database is nothing but data at large scale. Okay, and management of that is done with the help of database. Then we have database management system. So actually database management system is a software application which is used for managing different databases. Like essentially it involves tasks like data security, data backup, data export import, manage huge amount of data, and give access to programs. So these kind of things basically can be performed with the help of database management system. So DBMS just is an application with the help of which you can perform these kind of operations. Also, these are the types of database that we have. Like currently database has been categorized in this much category, like the first is a hierarchical database, network database, object oriented databases, relational databases, as well as NoSQL databases. Out of these databases, currently we will be focusing on relational database. Okay, so if we see what exactly relational database is, relational database is nothing but in a relation database, data is organized in the form of table. So here we will have our record in the form of rows and column that we already know. Basically table is nothing but is constituted with the help of columns and rows. A table contains rows and columns of data. Table has a unique key to identify each row of the table. And so far, if you know database, you might be knowing, like in a table there are two way to make the things uniquely identify. That is nothing but you can make it either primary key or you can set unique also. These are the constraint that you can apply. We will see, definitely we will see practically also while we will write the query. Then this we will be doing with the help of SQL. So SQL is a structured query language and is used to interact with relational databases. So here we will be working with these databases, and with the help of SQL query language, we will be writing the query whatever we want to achieve. We often refer relational database as SQL DB. So you can say SQLDB also. Query is a set of instructions given to database management. Okay, so here eventually we will be writing the query only to achieve anything. If we have to inquiry anything, if we want to find anything, in that case we will use query. So query is nothing but a set of instructions that we will be writing, and that will be given to the database management system, which tells RDMS what information you would like to get from the database, and based on the query basically output will be displayed. So if you little bit, we will also need to have SQL intro. So SQL stands for Structured Query Language, which is a standardized language for interacting with RDMS, that is Relational Database Management System. Some of the popular relational database examples are, we have MySQL, means these are the databases which manage the data in the form of table. It stores the data in table format. So we have MySQL, we have Oracle, PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL Server, IBM. So IBM DB2, etc. So these are the databases, and even out of this, currently we will be using this database Microsoft SQL Server, and in this database only we will be writing the query. So we use SQL client to perform database operations, which include creating database and table inside the database. SQL is also used to perform CRUD operations, that is nothing but create, read, update and delete. So if you have to create a record, you will write the create a statement. Otherwise, if you want to retrieve, you want to fetch, then we will go for retrieve a statement. In case if we have to update the record, we will go for update, and just for deletion we will use the delete command. So SQL statements are case insensitive. Case insensitive means uppercase. Something is written in uppercase and lowercase, both will be treated same. If it could be sensitive, in that means uppercase and lowercase will be treated differently. But here, SQL statements are insensitive. It represents you can write in any case, whether lowercase or uppercase, and both will be treated same. And the statement end with semicolon. Semicolon to indicate the DB that the query statement is completed. However, even though if you see here, while writing the queries to SQL Server database, as I mentioned, we will be using Microsoft SQL Server database, and in that we will be writing the queries. So even in that, you will see this semicolon will also be optional. If you want to write, you can write, otherwise you can skip writing that also. SQL can also perform administrative tasks on database, such as database security, backup, userment, etc. So yes, any kind of things you can do with the help of query, and that few basic things we will be writing here, and that you will see. So now we have given certain queries, okay, and that we will try to achieve. What you have to do, first of all, in order to write this query, definitely you should have database installed in your machine. Okay, so if you have at least Visual Studio, we get one database in Visual Studio also. Like here you can open the Visual Studio, you can click on view, and in that you will get this option called SQL Server Object Explorer. When you click on that, you will start getting the list of SQL Server that is there. So currently in my machine I have two. However, there are certain scenarios when you will click on view, and even after clicking on view, you might not be getting this option called SQL Server Object Explorer. Okay, if you are getting this option, well, you are good to go. If you are not getting this option, what you can do, you just need to go for Visual Studio installer. You will click on the Visual Studio installer, and you just need to modify it. So I will click on modify at this point of time, because I am interested in modifying, because you get this option when you install the SQL Server during the time of installing Visual Studio. So here you will get multiple options, out of which you have to check this box. Okay, data storage and processing. If you are not getting options in Visual Studio for database, it means you didn't selected this during the time of installing Visual Studio, and that's why it is not showing. So what you can do, you will check this box. Like in my case, you can see I have already selected. That's why I am getting, because that is installed, and so I am getting this option. In your case, if you are not, you will check this box, and from here you can say modify or install while downloading anything. So this way this one will get installed, after which you can restart your Visual Studio, and then you will start getting in view tab this option called SQL Server Object Explorer. I hope till here we are clear. So now what we can do, this is the something that we are going to make use of something or database which is integrated in Visual Studio. Okay, here if you want to install basically SSMS, okay, so SQL Server Management Studio is again the another application which is like an editor only, where you will be, that is actually dedicated to SQL Server database only. So you can install that also. Like all you need to do, you will just type ssms download. Okay, when you click on that, the very first option that you will get is download SQL Server Management Studio. So you will click on that, and here even if you want to install manually, then you can install SQL Server also by clicking on this link. Otherwise, if you just want to download the SSMS SQL Server Management Studio, you can come here and you will click on this link, and automatically download will start. as of now I will be writing the entire query in here only. So I will expand, and here I have to create. So if we, whatever the things that we want, we will be doing here in this database. So the query is ki, do this, but first of all we need to open the query editor. So I will click on that, and if you see this icon is showing ki if I want to write the query, definitely I want query editor to be opened. So this icon will be enabled only when you have clicked on database. You can see basically once it gets enabled, now you see, if I have not selected any database, it will disabled, okay, because it doesn't make sense to open a query editor. However, if I expand and if I click on any database, you can see immediately it is getting enabled by clicking on which query editor will open. So currently I will be creating the query in this. So simply I need to click in here, or okay, I will check, I will, okay, so here I don't have, so I will be creating in this database, and then I will say open the query editor. So our query editor get opened, and now whatever query I want to write, I can write, okay. Currently if you see in which database I am there, so by default we basically whenever you will open any database, you will be in master database, and that you can see here key this representation in the drop down, you will be getting all the database, okay, out of which currently it is showing master. It means we are in master database by default. So in this database means the selected database is master, which represents whatever the query that you will be writing currently, their output will start reflecting in that branch, I mean that database. If you are trying to create a table, that table will be creating in the database which is selected here, or you can say here also, like here you see we have master, okay. So this way you can identify in which you are. However, if you want to switch the database, you can click on drop down and you can choose. So now you see I chose temp db. Now whatever query I will be writing, even if I will try to create the table, means those table will be created inside this table whatever is selected, and you can see here also that is getting changed. So this way basically records are getting populated, as well as records will be inserted in that particular database. So that's it. Now if you see the query that we have here, so it is saying ki create a database with name payroll, okay. So we will create a database. Basically there are two approaches available to create the database. First one is GUI, another one is CUI. That is, GUI stand for graphical user interface, and CUI stand for command line user interface. So GUI means nothing but just by clicking on that. So for example, I want to create a new database. So you can just right click and you can say add a new database, and you can give the name like payroll and simply say okay. This way you can see we are able to create the database, okay. And this we just created by clicking, and and with the help of GUI. We didn't write any queries, no command, nothing, and we are able to do this. Basically as of now, as a developer, we will not be following this approach because as of now it will seems very easy, but later point of time GUI basically is little bit slow as compared to writing the queries, okay. So here whatever query that we will be doing, definitely the alternate approaches are also available that you can do with the help of GUI, okay. But here we will be mainly focused on writing query to do that thing. So I will drop this, you can right click and you can say delete. This way we can delete the database, and now we have to create the database. And currently we are whatever the query that we will be writing, that will be populating here itself. So if I write the first statement that is being told, like create a database with name payroll. So simply in order to create a database, we will write the query called create database and the name of the database maybe payroll, or whatever name you want to specify you can give. Okay, and as I told you, if you remember, like while writing queries to SQL server database, even semicolon is also optional. Means now you might have understood, if I am writing the semicolon well and good, even if I don't write, still I will not be getting error. So as of now, I will put later point of time I will execute the query without semicolon to prove like this is optional. So create database and the name of the database with which you want to create. You just need to click on execute, and you can see command completed successfully. It means definitely this payroll database will have created. So here we are not getting the database. All you need to do is just you refresh and you will start getting the database, and this time this database got created with CUI approach, that is command line user interface. This is the query that we wrote. Okay, but while we created the database, does that mean ki now whatever the query we will write, that will be populated inside payroll? No, still our selected database is a temp database only. So still, even though we created database, okay, but while creating database, that database will not be created inside this database, but other than this, whatever the query we will be writing, that will definitely be reflecting inside the selected database. So you can see from this drop down, currently we have selected temp database. It means if we are trying to create any stored procedure, table, or anything, that will be creating inside this selected database temp db. If you want to switch, you can switch as usual, but here as I mentioned, we will not be using GUI approach. We will try to write the command line user interface. Okay, so we wrote the command to create the database. Next thing, if you see, it is saying कि display the list of databases. Okay, so how I want to see all the databases that we have. So how we can do to do that? Basically, we need to write the query like everything is present inside the sys dot databases. So we will simply say select a star from sys dot databases. You will type select a star from sys dot databases, and this time I will not put semicolon, and you will see still it will work. Now one more thing, a small thing, but you need to understand, if I directly run on this execute query, means entire query that is written will be executing, but I want only this query to execute. So what you need to do, you will drag and select this entire query, and then you will click on execute, or otherwise you will click on yellow ribbon, and automatically that query will be selected, post which you can click on execute button and it will be executing. Now you will be able to see all the databases. Along with that, we selected a star, and so we are getting every details. But suppose we want only name, so rather than saying star, you can say name. Select name from database, and this time you will be getting all those name which which is present currently. So these are the databases we have. You saw these are the default database system databases, you can say, and payroll is the one that we created recently with the help of this. You also can see even we didn't give the semicolon, still it is working successfully. So it indicates that semicolon is also optional. Now we have switched the database to payroll database. Purpose is कि now whatever we will be writing the query, we want their it should execute against our database, that is payroll. But as I told you, currently if you will try to create any table or anything, that will be created inside temp db, because this one is only selected database. So we have to change. You already know you can do with the help of drop down, and when you choose payroll, you are done. Now whatever query you will write, since payroll is the selected database, so that will the query will be executed in that database. But as I mentioned, we will not be using GUI approach, so I will again say master, and then if with the help of a query, if we have to switch, then what you can do, so simply you will write use and the name of database, so we can say payroll. By doing this, We will execute, and then automatically you can see payroll is changed, command executed successfully, and we are able to change the database. So this is what we can do in order to achieve this one. So these three things we wrote the query to achieve this. Likewise, we have to say, so as a part of second scenario, create a table with name, employee, payroll with this much column. So we can write, not a problem. Okay. And also, like you saw, last time when we created the payroll database, then we deleted by right clicking and say delete. But here, if you have to drop the database with the help of a query, then simply instead of create, you will say drop database, and then name of database may be payroll. This is for just understanding. Don't execute, otherwise if I currently execute, this one will be dropped. And again, or else I can drop quickly and I can show you. So see, cannot drop database payroll because it is currently in use. Okay, you understand, currently we are on this database only, and from this database only we are trying to delete this, we are trying to drop this actually. So it is not. In that case, you need to switch the database. So what I can do, just a second. Okay. So now, in order to delete the drop the database, we need to switch back. Means you should be on another database, then only you can delete this database. So maybe I can quickly go to another database, and now we are executing this query from this database. So if we try to drop, you can see command completed successfully, and when we right click and say refresh, this database is gone. Likewise, if we try to create, again select and create, if I refresh, you can see the database again got created. So this is how basically database gets created. Now we will try to create a table with employee payroll as the name. So for that, simply the other query we can write is create, and again guys, this is SQL server database. Okay, and we are writing query against that. So simply you can say create, and while we created a database, we wrote database. This time we want to create you know a table. So I can say create table, and then table name. So maybe the name is given employee payroll, or whatever name you want to give, you can give. So create table and a table name. After doing that, you will open this parenthesis, open and close parenthesis, where you will mention all the list of column, and the list of column will be mentioned in the format like you will be giving the name of the column, then data type of the column, and constraint. If you have any constraint, is not mandatory, if you want you can write. So in this format basically we will be creating the column. So for example, if we see, it is saying ki, we should have id, we should have name, salary. So these much column we should have. So id, first of all we will say id, and data type, as I told you in format, so data type we can make it int. So we give the column name, then data type of the column, and then it says ki id should be set to auto increment. Okay, we will come back to this, but first let's create other column like name, salary, and a start date. So I will say comma. Okay, every column will be separated by comma if you have multiple column. So id, then name, and a name I can say varchar type. These are the data type. You can go through data type and you will understand. So name, and then varchar, and inside this you will type the maximum limit of the name, means how lengthy name can be. So that maximum means, if I give 100, it means if I will try to insert any name whose size is more than 100, in that case that name will not be stored inside this. So we know typically we don't have such a lengthy name, so 100 is more than enough, right? So in less than 100, if any name is there which has less than 100 character or 100, till that it will be working. But as soon as name length will exceed 100 character, then it will start getting exception, or it will not be inserting here. So as of now we are saying ki name should be 100 character, means till maximum 100 character of name can be handled by this column. and then again I will put comma, then we have the salary. So basically salary you can keep it as real type also, because this is also a type. You can also make it a float, or we have a dedicated type for salary, that is nothing but money. Okay, so you can put this data type. You can go, as I mentioned, you can have data type, you can look and you can go through the data type present in SQL Server. So salary we made it of money type, and then we can say a start date. Let me check the name of column. So yes, it says a start date. So you can say a start hyphen date, and we can make their type as date only. Okay, so that's it. So this way we created. Now if we think we are done with the creation of all this, what we are left with is key constraint if we are missing. So you can see basically we will say name should be by default. If we are not putting any constraint, means it will be null. Even though we will not be give the name, still it will be working. So we will say no, this field should not be blank. For that we are putting a constraint called not null. Now if anybody will try and will not give the value of name, because of that constraint, that particular record will not be inserted. We are saying whenever a record will be inserted in the table, name field must be passed. Otherwise, this constraint will fail, and which will not allow the records to be inserted. Same way, we can say salary should also not be empty. So you can put not null. And likewise we can say for a start date also not null. So this is how we made. And this constraint we put just to ensure like we should have a value for name, salary, and a start date. Okay, now typically id should made as primary key. Okay, because this should be unique. So we can say, and again these are constraint only, so we are making id as primary key, but we had a special requirement like id should set to auto increment. Okay, so if id is set to auto increment, it represents ki, you don't have to pass the value of id. Database will be managing that. So in order to do that, we can write with that, maybe here I will write. So you can write multiple constraint on any column. So primary key constraint already given, I can add one more. Maybe I can write identity. Okay, so when we are giving the identity constraint, it represents ki now when we will be inserting the record in this table, by that time we are not supposed to pass the value of id. Id already will be created by the database will be creating. So we will now only pass name, salary, and a start date. So how database will create id by on which principle? So actually when we write identity, by default the value that happens, that is written here, is 1 comma 1. Means when we write identity 1 comma 1, means whenever we will try to insert the very first record in database, that time the database will start their counting from 1. Okay, so very first record will have id 1, and then this one is the incrementing factor. Means if next records are getting inserted, so the first will have 1, then this one, by this value the next id will be incremented. So second record will have 1 plus 1, so second record will have second id 2 id. Likewise if third one is coming, so in last id 1 will be incremented, and the third one will have the third id, so on. If you don't want it, by default this is the configuration that will be taken. However, we want ki our id should start from 10, assume, and it should be incremented by 5. So you will write here 10 comma 5. So now what will happen, the whenever we will try to insert the very first record in this, database will generate a first id as 10. Okay, and as you know, the second id will have a value 10 plus 5. Means by this factor, this is the incrementing factor, so by this value the value will keep incrementing for value id. Okay, so first record will have 10, second will have 10 plus 5, that is 15, third record will have 15 plus 5. Means in last value of id, this value will be added, and that value will be the new value for id column. I hope it makes sense for you, like how id works and how identity will be working. So as of now, 1 comma 1 is the default value if you write well and good. Otherwise, even if you delete, it will still working by 1 comma 1 as the default value that will be taken. Okay. So by writing this, we are ensuring like ID should set to auto increment, and now database will be generating the very first ID as 1, and then the next ID will keep incrementing by 1. This is how basically we'll be creating. Now if I want to run this, I just need to select and I will execute. So when I click, you can see command completed successfully. Okay, so this way we can basically create the table. Now if you see, like basically also the thing is while we created this table, that time we were in which database? You can see we were in MSDB. So you might have understood, if I go and search inside the payroll, inside if I expand the table, you won't get this one. Even if I refresh, you won't be getting this employee payroll. You might have understood that this table will have created inside MSDB. If you want to cross check inside the system database, MSDB is there. And if I expand this one, you can see inside the temp table, here this table got created. But no, this was not our target. We wanted to create inside the payroll, right, database. So of course we have to choose. You can see this one is selected. If with the help of query you want to see like in which database currently we are, so simply you can say select db underscore name, and this query will be giving you the name of database inside which currently you are working, that is nothing but MSDB, right? If you want to switch, simply use this statement, use payroll, and now we came to payroll. If I again select DB name, so we will get the payroll name, right? So now we came to this database, payroll database, and we wanted this query, this table to be created inside the payroll. So currently payroll is selected, we are good to go. If I run now, you will see command completed successfully, and this will have this time created inside payroll database. So if I expand, I mean if I refresh, you will start getting employee payroll table inside the payroll database. So this is what we had to do. Also, like you see, during the time of creating table itself, we mentioned these constraints. So here on ID, we kept two constraint, identity as well as primary key. However, suppose during the time of creating table, you forgot, and later point of time you want to make ID. You didn't give primary key during the time of creating, and later point of time you want to make this ID as primary. So how you can do? Simply you can do like alter table, and the name of the table, that is nothing but employee payroll. Okay, and then simply we can say add primary key, add primary key, and then we can mention in the parenthesis the name of the column, and simply you can hit. By doing this, inside this table, in this column it will find, and this column will be set to primary key. If I run, currently it is already set to primary key. So you can see we are getting table employee already has a primary key defined on it, because we created here itself. If you forgot or you didn't create that time, in that case this command can be used. With the help of alter command, you can perform this altering. So we are done by this use case also, like we created the table with these IDs. Okay, now the third statement, third scenario is saying ki insert few records in employee payroll. So in order to insert the record, what we can do, we just need to use the insert statement. Okay, so we will write here like insert into, we will write the command called insert into, and then we can also say what we can say the values, right? To insert into where the name of the table will be employee payroll. Okay, and then we can say values. So this way you can write and values will be how you will be giving according to the name of the column. So id, we will not be giving the value of id because that will be generated by database because of identity constraint. So we will give the name. Okay, so we can say name is a varchar, so you will mention inside the single quote, so maybe bill. Okay, then salary, so we can say salary is maybe 10,000, let's suppose. And then a start date, so when did he join the company, so any date we can say, maybe we can say 2018. Okay, and then 1 3. So this is how basically this is the format that we will be writing, that is year, month and a date. So now if I click on this, the record will be inserted and you can say one rows affected. So this is the one way of inserting the record in the table. However, here this is here the one approach that we followed is कि we have to give the column value systematically, means कि id we didn't give because that will be managed by database, but name we must be giving sequentially. After name the second column is salary. Okay, so we are giving the salary. After salary we have a start date, so we are giving a start date. So this is manner we have to follow. Next is कि suppose we don't want to give in that format, in that case the another way we can use is you we need to mention the column sequence, okay, with column name. So again we can say insert into employee payroll, and with that you need to specify the column name also. For example, we can say we want to give first salary, so you will write here salary, then we will say a start date, and then we can say name. So this time and then we'll say values. And now whatever the value, this time you don't need to give the value according to the table, but rather you need to give the values according to this whatever the sequence that you have followed here. So first I mentioned salary, so I will record another salary, maybe 21,000. Then I will say a start date, so a start date I will say ki this one joined on 2019, and then this is the month, so I can say maybe December, and I will say uh, you know 13, I can say okay 13 December 2029. So this way we can change the sequence also, and then finally name also. So name we can say maybe Terisha, like this. Okay, and if I select this, you can say this way also one more rows got affected. So now we have two record inserted successfully, and these are the approaches that you can use to insert the record. Okay, so this way basically we can insert the record. Okay, now we have to see what are all the things we have in this created table. So if you want to see that one, you can write the query to say check their schema and all, like you can say select a star from information schema. Okay, so information schema, select a star from information schema, and this is in uppercase, but you can write it in lowercase also because this is again case insensitive. So schema dot I can write columns. Okay, and then I will also say where table equal to our table name, that is nothing but employee underscore payroll. Okay, table actually should be underscore name, so table name. And now if I try to run, you can see we are able to get the entire detail of this particular table. Like we have table catalog, table schema, table name, then what are all the column we have inside that, then is nullable or not. So this detail you can see. Okay, so this is what this command you will use in order to check the details of the table, but still we have not seen the data. As of now we have inserted these two data. Let's add few more records. So if you have to add, I will cut this command and I will paste here. So now assume we have to insert few more record. So I will use this, and now basically values, and here you can give the multiple values also separated by comma, and this way you can add few more records. So suppose I will add two more record. Okay, so I will say Charlie. Salary can make anything 345, and then joining, let's make it 14 January, not we'll say May, and 23 May. Okay, and then we can say let's make their salary little bigger. Then Charlie, and then we'll say Carl, and he has salary maybe 15,000, and this could be let's say 2020 10th March. I mean, this is a this is not a date, this is a month. Okay, so 2020, and this is October 3rd. So this way we can add multiple record. If I execute this together, this time you will see two records affected. You see two rows affected. This way we inserted four rows. Okay, so this is what that was told in scenario third. In fourth, it is telling retrieve all the data from table that is added. We are being told to retrieve, to fetch the details, this data we want to see. So for that we can say select a star from the name of the table. Okay, and this way when I run, so if I run this, you can see we are getting all the record that we are having, means this many record. And you also see ki we never pass the value of id, but still that is getting created. How? Because of identity, identity constraint. And as I told you ki by default it will start from 1. Okay, so 1, and it will keep incremented by 1. So that's why we are getting this value. So these are the values that we have, and you can use this statement called select a star. In a star means everything. If you don't want a star, you can replace this with any column name. Suppose I just want to see the name of the employee, so I will say select name from employee, and this time you are getting a specific to a particular column, so only that column will be displayed. Even you want to change the name of this column, you can set their alias, means put the space, and inside that you can write any name, maybe employee name. Okay, and then now this name column name will not be printed, and they will have name as employee name. So if I run, you can see now rather than name, this has been alias. This is called alias of the name. So in table the column name is name, but while writing the query we are changing the name column name to employee name, so it is showing here employee name. Okay, or you can also write as. Okay, still it will show same, means we are saying name column should display with this header employee name, and so we are getting value. I will comment this line as of now, and we'll go for a star only. So we can comment with a double hyphen. Okay, and this way we comment the query in SQL server. So I will write again the same select a star from employee payroll. Okay, and this way you can see the entire record. Next we have is retrieve salary for a particular employee. Our requirement is, suppose we want to know the salary of Bill. Okay, so what we can say, we can write the same query, select a star from employee payroll. But thing is, this time we are getting entire record. No, we want a particular record. So we need to use where clause to filter out the other record. So we can say where name equal to Bill. Since this is case insensitive, so even though if I write like this, still it will work fine. Okay, so now it will go, entire record will be selected, but where clause will filter out the other record except Bill. So only Bill record will be selected here, and that will be rendered to us. So you can see now we are getting only the record of Bill only, because we are getting a specific to a particular employee with the help of where clause. So basically where clause is used to find out the specific record. This is what we had for this. Now Here we have another scenario, okay, retrieve the salary for employees. Like see here I selected everything, but it is saying retrieve salary of a particular employee. So I will say rather than putting a star, we can make it a salary. And now as you know, you will only be getting the salary, right? Salary of whom? Bill. Okay, so this way you can modify the query and you can get the result as per your requirement. If you put a star, it will be showing entire column name, entire columns. Okay, so that's why we are getting these values. Now it says कि retrieve salary for employees who have joined in a particular date range from payroll service database. Means now we have a requirement ki like if I say here, see guys, even if this is the entire query, I want to write a fraction of this query, that also I can do. Simply I will select those piece, and when I will run, it will execute only that much. So you can see we are getting entire record. Okay, here I want to know all those employee who joined from between 2019 to till date. मतलब कि these people who joined before that should not be selected. I am focused on only from 2019. Okay, so how we can write, if you see this diagram, this table, so seems like only two people joined from 2019 to till today. Till today means कि, we have in 2022 today, right? 10th November. So here it is saying, Teresa and Carl, these two output only should be showing. So first of all, we have to know like how we can deal with date in SQL Server. So if you have to present the date, you can say simply select, and get date is a function which we can make use. And you can see guys, nowhere I am using semicolon. If you want, you can write. And then when we run, we will get the current date, okay, today's date. So this is the one date, and that and another date is ki we want, I will copy this rather than selecting again and again. Will run, and here we are saying कि basically it should be showing from employee range, means कि from 2019 to till date, and till date we are getting with this. So here we can write the query between that is कि we can say select a star from, a star means entire column we want to see. So select a star from employee payroll where, okay, where what, basically where is used to filter. So I can see wh where. Okay, so where a start date, and here we want a range, okay, not a particular date. Okay, so for a range we need to use the between. Okay, so where a start date between, and then you can specify the first date from where you want. So I can say maybe 2019, and then 1st January. Okay, so I can say January 1st, and by separating, and you can say by putting, and you can separate the two date. So this is the first date, and we want till today. So today is nothing but 2022. I can say 10th November, right? So November 10th, and with the help of this query we will get the record of whom, we will get the record of Teresa as well as Carl. Let's check if we are getting the same record. So you can see Teresa and Carl we are getting. Now see, anyway this is the today's date, and same date we are getting with the help of get date. So is it something like this date can be replaced with this function? Of course yes. Okay, I will copy the same, I will paste, and this time rather than giving this date manually, I will say ki and get date. Okay. So this I will tell, and even if I run, still result will remain exactly same. You can see. Okay. So this is how we can find the range of a employee. So now if you have to deal with the range of date, you can use the between, and you can do that. Also, next scenario we have is ki add gender column to employee payroll, okay, table, and update the rows to reflect the correct employee gender. Here guys, it is saying ki now we are supposed to add the column. I showed you one thing ki if you forget during the time of creating a tables anything, then we can use the alter command. Okay, so that command again we have to make use of in order to achieve this one. So it says ki go and add a gender column to the employee payroll table and update the rows to reflect the correct employee gender. Means we have to add a gender. So we can again make use of same command that we wrote earlier. We can say alter table and then table name, that is nothing but employee payroll. So alter table name, and then you can say add. What we want to add? We want to add gender. So we can write gender and then data type. So maybe gender, for gender we can say char and of one. So for male we will type M, for female we will type F, and for other we will type O. Okay. So I can take only one, and if we run this way, gender will be added. If you see, command completed successfully. Okay, and this way if I show you select a star from employee payroll, you can see gender column is added, and here you see we only gave name of the column as well as data type. We didn't mention the constraint, and so you can see by default if you don't mention any constraint, the null will be treated as a default constraint, and that's why you can see for every record automatically null is appearing. Okay, so this is what basically happens as, so null is treated as a default constraint. Likewise, now it is also asking to go and update the rows. Okay, so we will update, we will mark them. So we can say ki here assume ki Teresa and Teresa is female and Bill, Charlie and Carl are male. Okay, so how we can see? So we will update, we can write the query update. Okay, and what? So this time you will just be taking the name of the table. So update table name, set. What to set? Set gender equal to, in a single quote you will write only F, because we have said told that this is a single character column. So gender is say, female, but whose gender? Where? Either you can take the help of ID or name. So as of now we'll say ID just to write. Otherwise you can also say name equal to Teresa. Okay, both are same. Maybe you can write in single quote Teresa, Teresa, and it will update the Teresa record. Okay, so if we run, the it says one row affected, and if I show you the select star command, you can see now Teresa gender became female. Okay, so I will copy, I will paste here. The select command is something which is frequently we have to use, that's why I'm copying. Now next is we have to update. So is it something like individually update? See, if you have to update individually, you can use like this. If you have to update in bulk, then you can use the other optimized query, that update employee payroll. Then we can say set gender equal to male. Since this is the case insensitive, that's why I'm writing gender like this also, or this, anything will be working fine. So gender equal to female, where name equal to, I can say, or I this time I will be do ID. So ID equal to 1, or ID equal to 3, or ID equal to 4, right? But if you have 100 ID, you will be writing 100 times, and again ID and or you need to write. Anyway, this will also work, okay? But rather than writing this, you can simply write where ID, okay, and then you can write in, and inside parenthesis you will specify all those ID which you want to update. So simply I can say 1 comma 3 comma 4, and now if I run, so you can see automatically 3 rows affected. Okay, so now if I run select star command, you will see their gender got updated. This is how it works. So we are done. Use case 7 say कि find sum, average, minimum and count of mail. Basically these are called aggregate function in SQL server. Simply you can use and you will get. So for example, suppose we we have to find the sum of a salary for entire employee. So what I can do, I will see this in this table the total salary is 15,000 plus 23,000 something, 21,000 plus 10,000. So I can simply say select sum, and then inside that pass the name of the column for which you want. Select some salary from employee payroll. Okay, and if you see, we should get, so this is the total salary that is present in this table. But no, we want salary for male and female. So I can say where gender equal to female. So if gender equal to female, now you see we are getting only female. If we make the male, so we will be getting the salary of male only. So now we are getting the salary of male. But no, we want together, right? We want to get both salary together. Okay. So for that, what we can do, you can say select sum of a salary from employee payroll where gender equal to male. This one only represent for male. If we want for female, you write female, okay? But no, we want the name also like gender also, okay? So I will say gender, comma. So select gender, sum of salary from employee, and then where rather than where you will be writing, after where you can say group by. So group by gender. Now what you have to do, whatever, see, if this one is aggregated, this also needs to be aggregated. So this one you will be using with the help of group by. Okay, so you need to use whatever you are using alone, that column name you will need to use with the group by. So how it will work, first of all, entire record will be grouped based on gender. So we will have two different group as of now, male and female. Okay, so for male, one group is there, and for female, another group. Now, this one will be working for currently we are saying is where gender equal to male. So this time still it will be printing for male only. Okay, but if we remove the filter, then it will print both value because group by gender. So this grouping will create two different gender, male and female. And then for first group, gender will be male, and their male salary will be counted. Then for female, it will be calculating the sum of salary for female. So this time if you see, we are getting the sum salary of male and female separately. That's it. Then in eighth use case, it says ki extend the employee payroll data to store employee information like employee phone, address, and department. Okay. So simply what we can do, we recently added this. So we can copy this command and we can paste here, alter table name, add, and then column name it says ki we should have employee phone, then address, and then department. So rather than gender, add. Okay, and then I will hit enter, I will say employee phone. Employee underscore phone, it should be varchar, and phone can hardly be, basically it is of 10 digit, but we can take maybe 15. Okay, then it is saying address and department. So if you have to add multiple column, you can separate them with comma and you can write address. I can say varchar maybe 300 character, as it could be little lengthy or whatever size you want. Then can say department, and it can again be of maybe 50 character is more than enough. That's it. If we quickly run, we are not basically taking any constraint for them. So by default, still null will be taken. Okay, but that you saw earlier. But suppose if I want to make not null, okay, so what will happen now? We will start getting error. If I execute this, you can see It says alter table only allows columns to be added that can contains null or have a default definition specified, or column being added is an identity or timestamp. So it says कि देखो, we already have few record in our table. If I show you, so we have, and by default database assign them. Suppose this employee phone will be created, so this column will have value null for every record as a default value. But we are saying no, don't give the default value. In that case, what value database should assign, right? So that's why it is complaining कि if you are trying to add this, I will copy this and I will paste here, and if I run the entire query together, so we will read error also. Okay, so here it says alter table only allows columns to be added that contains null, but we are saying not null means don't give the null. Then database will have difficulty that other than null, what value I should assign. For that reason, it is complaining. So it is saying ki in that case, you only tell a default value for that, so that by default database will assign null. But we are saying don't give null. Then other than that, you need to set the default value. Okay, that default value will be automatically assigned to everyone. So if you are saying not null, then you can say here default, and then you can give some value maybe like this. Okay, so now if you run, you will not be getting any error because we are getting the default value. Okay, and this is less than 10, but this one makes sure it should not exceed 15 character. Okay, then it will be working fine. Maybe I can say 0 also, and now if we want we can do, but for other field still it will be null. Okay, third approach is ki it should be either identity also, so that database can generate, but no, we don't want this to be identity. So this is what, so as of now we will say employee phone should let it be null only. Okay, so no need to specify, but for address we can say not null. And when we will say not null, also need to specify default. So we can say default should set to India maybe. Okay, and now if this time we execute, even not null will also be working. If I run, you can see command a completed successfully. If I show you, so you can see whatever the default value that we gave other than null, we already told कि this column should not have null value. So then database will ask you कि hey, I have tendency to provide null as a default value, but you are restricting me to give that value. In that case, you only tell that what default value I should give. So we told कि rather than giving the null, please use this default value that I am specifying, and that is whatever you will specify, that will appear. So this is how it works, and we are able to add few more records. Okay, it says ensure employee department is non-nullable field. Okay, so here we had the department. Okay, and now this department was nullable. So again you can do the same thing for a department also. Like you can if you write command like this, basically suppose we are already created, then we can say alter table and employee underscore payroll, and then you can say add. What basically you will add, you will be adding constraint this time. First, we had already have this as null. Okay, but we had to make it non-null. So during the time, rather than writing this during the time of creating, you can set the same approach, right? You could write here not null, and then you can set the default, and maybe any default value you could give. Like it should be not null, you can say something not null with default as any stream, you can say CS. Okay, and let's try to add, let's check whether we are getting error. It says column name in each table must be unique. Column name, this column already is there. Okay, so now what you can do, the another approach is like, since we are already created, so you can either delete this column first, and then you can use the same query that you will use is कि alter table employee name add, and then this you can use. So this query you will use, and you will be able to execute this once department column will be deleted, will be removed from that. Or suppose we don't want department, so as of now we can rename also. Okay, So command we have is you can say sp underscore rename. Let me check if it is asking to create other column also. So employee payroll should have basic pay. Okay, so let's add as of now basic pay. I can say sp rename, then employee payroll dot department. So we want to rename this, and we want to rename to what? We want to rename to you can give the another name, maybe in the single quote we need to give. Okay, and next value you can give it basic pay maybe. So basic underscore pay, and now if we run, let's check incorrect syntax near basic pay. Okay, so maybe this we can use, and let's check if it works. Okay, maybe we will give this also. Okay, so maybe I'm forgetting this command, but you can use this sp rename. This is the stored procedure that is used to rename. Okay, so we will see it in some time, but as of now, you will use this query and you can achieve whatever is mentioned. Next we have is ki further extend the table to have basic pay, deduction, taxable pay, net pay, etc. So you can add this by saying the same query you will use, like alter table here employee name add, and then this column name with the data type. Okay, or simply if I tell you, you can write the same query. Okay, but wait, here again it says ki we also have to make it as default, right? Even in this sum average here, add default value for address field. So if you see, we already added the default for address, right? Likewise, for this varchar, if you will try to make it not null, definitely you will be required to provide some default value. Okay, so that we are already achieving. Now we can go for next use case, and that is our eighth use case. Okay, so here basically it is saying uh just a second, extend employee payroll data to store employee information like this. So we have a employee phone address department, we are already done with this. Yep. And now next is to further extend the employee payroll table to have basic pay, deduction, taxable pay, income and all. So what query we can write? You can write same like alter table this, we can copy, and then the name of the column it is saying. So it is saying ki we should have basic pay, so we can copy basic pay, deductions, taxable pay. So basic pay. Okay, let me try once more. Maybe where was that sp rename? Okay, so we can basically try giving it into the single quote. Okay, and we will rename it as basic pay. Okay, I will try once if it works. Otherwise, I might be forgetting it. And then they needs to be separated. Let's separate it with comma. Okay, and actually this is the way that we are supposed to pass these two input to the stored procedure. This is a stored procedure, we will explain later, we will understand it later, but as of now these two input parameters we are passing to this stored procedure, and it should rename. So you can see, changing any part of an object name could break a script and a stored procedure, but maybe if we are lucky enough, this will have renamed. So let's check, and yes, basic piece. So now we don't have department. Okay, so if you run this now, it will work, and this time again it will have not null. So by default value will set to cs now. So this way department value will set to cs as the default value. Okay, if you see, you can see department is set to cs. Okay, we created a cs also, basic pay already created. So deduction, taxable pay, I will copy this whatever we want, and we will paste. Okay, control V to alter add deductions. So again this is a money type, so we'll say money. We are not giving any uh, you know uh, constraint. It means by default it will be having the constraint null. Same we can say for money. For income tax also we can say same of type money, and then net pay again of type money, and all of them will have the default value as money. So if we run this now, if I tell you select a star query, here it is. I will copy, I will bring down. So you will see these many columns got added with default value null. Okay, now in a 10th scenario, it is saying try to make particular employee as a part of different department, maybe sales and marketing. So what will happen here? Assume कि Teresa is having a department called CS, and again Teresa is working for maybe mechanical department also. So here where did we add a Teresa? Here, right? Or somewhere insert, then here is the record for Teresa. Okay, I will add one. So this time you will find I need to mention everything, right? I will say insert into employee payroll and then values. I will use this, and inside that I don't need to give ID, so I will say Teresa, same person, Teri, Teresa. Then her salary is also assuming same. So salary she has is 21,000. Then I will say a start date again should be same, that is 2019 12th, means 13 December. Here actually if you are not giving the specifying the name of column, in that case sequentially you have to give the entire value of the entire column. Okay, so this is the start date, then I will say gender, so that will also remain same, and then employee phone, so let's make even that also as null as of now. So employee phone, then address we can make it India. Okay, then everything will same except the, because the same person is working in different department and I have to manage that also. Other than department every data will be same, that's why I'm writing everything same. Basic pay again we can say null, and then department, so department only will be saying mechanical. Okay, and then comma mechanical, after mechanical deductions are we can say null, then taxable pay again null, and then income tax and net pay both should be null. Okay, so this way we will add this, and now if we try to insert the record, to one row got affected. If we try to see, so here you see we have two different Teresa. Okay, and I was forced to give entire data same except the department, right? So here she is handling CS department also as well as mechanical department also. Okay, so this is what was told. Now if there are certain things to observe, we will need to insert again the complete information as new row with only different department, and that you saw like how basically I was forced to given the entire record same. Next is, if salary is now going to be updated, multiple rows has to be updated, creating unnecessary redundancy. Yes, tomorrow, Teresa might have salary hike, so I need to, since the same person is working in different department, so here salary will update. I need to update here also, right? And this is redundancy because I am required to update at multiple rows. Okay, then further there is two different employee ID, so according to database there are two different person treated. Database, according to database will treat this Teresa as different with this Teresa different because they have different ID, and that ID was generated by identity. Okay, however you see this is the case of redundancy, and this is the scenario where basically normalization and denormalization come into the picture so that we can deal with this kind of scenario. So we will try to understand